So, a very formal and warm welcome to each of you. This is World Interfaith Harmony Week, and I'm just delighted to be here again this year, offering 5 days of events, which is this hour from 10 to 11 Pacific time in the US. Sorry, I can't translate that off the top of my head to GMT, but so glad you all found me and found this time together. I am calling you, dialing in from an island in the Pacific Northwest, which is on the west
Mm.
coast of the United States. This is the traditional land of the Suquamish people, so I'm very honored to be amongst red cedars and Douglas firs and other
Mm.
natural beings who have been here a very, very long time, even before the Suquamish people, and beings which sustained the spiritual life and the material life of the local people, and now sustaining my life and the people I know here. Um, I'm a spiritual ecologist. I have a business called Teal Arbor Stories. I am an author, I'm a creative, and I guide people through creative and healing experiences. But I'm not here to focus on that. I'm here to focus on celebrating and honoring our shared humanity, our shared sense of the divine, and to give you some ways to tap into that I hope you will want to adapt into your own spiritual practices in life in whatever way works for you. So I would say, please feel free as I offer things today and this week. Every day will be a similar structure, but a different topic and different activities. So I hope that you will feel free to adapt these things that I'm going to offer in a way that makes sense for you, in a way that feels good to you, that's in congruence with your values and beliefs and traditions, and really um, contemplate how these might be rituals for you over time. Very, very simple practices, very simple activities. Um, we are recording right now. I am just getting that on the recording so that it's captured, and to say that we will, for our community sharing, which will be the second half of our hour today, I will turn the video off so that people can feel freer and more comfortable. I do a lot of sensitive work with people, and I always want people to feel very comfy sharing. And so what we do in that second half will just stay with the group of us who are here today. If you don't have paper, pen, and some kind of nature object near you, it would be good to gather those items. And we'll be using various creative and nature objects. We'll be using pen and paper every day this week. So if you are coming back, which I hope you all will, to any of the other days this week, I hope you will have those items with you. I'm a firm believer in actually practicing, actually doing, actually giving people an opportunity to do the things that we're going to be talking about. I'm going to, I think that's all of the logistics. Today's topic, by the way, is contemplative writing. And I'll talk
Mm.
more about what that is, what that looks like, how we might engage that. Just checking to see if there's anything else I want to say. And if I forgot, it's okay. It'll come up. It'll come up when it needs to. I'm going to light a candle just to make
Mm.
our space a little more holy. If any of you have a candle near you, you may do so also, or you may bring one for other times. I'll try not to burn down my home. I also have a cairn, 3 rocks to just ground us in the natural world. I don't know how well you can see that. Um, so I'm going to start with a poem by who I think is an amazing 20th century Irish poet, John O'Donoghue. This incredible book is called To Bless the Space Between Us. And I'm just going to start with his poem, and then we're going to move into a meditation to ground us in the earth. And then we will have a little bit of quiet time after that before we go
Mm.
into some activities. So I'm going to turn to the page. This poem by John O'Donoghue is called A Morning Offering. I bless the night that nourished my heart to set the ghosts of longing free into the flow and figure of dream that went to harvest from the dark, bread for the hunger no one sees. All that is eternal in me welcomes the wonder of this day, the field of brightness it creates, offering time for each thing to arise and illuminate. I place on the altar of dawn the quiet loyalty of breath, the tent of thought where I shelter, waves of desire I am sure to, and all beauty drawn to the eye. May my mind come alive today to the invisible geography that invites me to new frontiers, to break the dead shell of yesterdays, to risk being disturbed and changed. May I have the courage today to live the life that I would love, to postpone my dream no longer, but do at last what I came here for, and waste my heart on fear no more. So if you're comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes or to cast your eyes downward. We're going to move into a meditation called Five Breaths. It is offered to me from the Sufi tradition, and I gently modified a few words. And when I am done, I will say that I'm done, and then we'll have a minute or two of silence during which you can pray or meditate or just sit quietly. So here's the meditation. The first breath, the breath of earth. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Connect to all the earthy things, soil, rocks, minerals, the solid parts of the world, bark and fur and flesh, your own flesh and bones, because you too are made of earth. The second breath, the breath of water. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Connect to all the fluid things, oceans and rivers, glaciers, falling snow, blood and sap, the water within cells and within bodies, within your own body, because you too are made of water. The third breath, the breath of fire. Breathe in through the mouth and out through the nose, breathing through the heart. Connect to all the fiery hot things, lightning and lava, sun and stars, the heat in the body, the heat of your deep self, because you too are made of fire. The fourth breath, the breath of air. Breathe in through the mouth and out through the mouth. Connect to all the things of air, wind in all its forms, from breezes to hurricanes, the breathing of plants, carbon dioxide in and oxygen out, the breathing of animals in exchange, oxygen in and carbon dioxide out, your own breath moving through your lungs, catching your fire, activating your blood, feeding your body, because you too are made of air. The fifth breath, the ether breath, so subtle it might look like you're not breathing at all. Perhaps breathe in and out through the mouth and nose at the same time. This last breath connects all things, all the elements, and all that is more than elemental. The divine spirit moving through the cosmos, moving through the spirits of all, and through your own spirit. Breathe gently and rest in this interconnection with all beings. So now let's just take a moment of silence. Gently and slowly, when you feel ready, please come back to us. This is being recorded for those of you that joined in the last few moments, just for the first half, and then I'll turn the recording off. But feel free to come back with your video if you're comfortable doing so. Welcome, welcome again. So glad we're here together. I hope to have fun because I really like to have fun. I am on a spiritual path, and I don't think it has to be all serious. Though of course there are poignant moments and difficult moments and contemplative moments, but I don't think it all has to be some kind of drudgery. So let's have fun. So let's move into this a little bit. I want to talk about contemplative writing, and I will give you an activity to do in a minute that involves a nature object if you have one, or at worst case scenario, if you don't have a nature object, if you have a nature photo, and if you have neither of those, I will provide a photo for you. So we'll do a little inventory on that in a second, but if you have your own, that's great. And if you don't have something actually right with you, but you have a window, as you might see over here, you can find an object out there for this activity. But let's talk for a minute about contemplative writing. I don't just mean the writing we do, I also mean the writing we encounter. And John O'Donohue, who I just introduced to some of you, maybe for the first time, and others of you I know are familiar with him and his work. When I say contemplative writing, I really just mean letting the words come and doing so in an intentional way, holding something vaster than ourselves in our hearts as we write. So the activities this week, I really want them to offer them to you in a way that you might use them in your own life in a way that feels good to you, maybe for a spiritual purpose or maybe not, but because it's Interfaith Harmony Week, we'll focus on the spiritual. Um, and so the idea with contemplative writing, as I engage it, is to find first, like we did with the John O'Donohue poem, those voices that speak to us, that help us connect to something divine, spiritual. If you have a faith tradition, whoever's in charge of that faith tradition for you, whoever you honor on a daily basis, or just the world of nature and living things. As a spiritual ecologist, and I think I can say this for most other people who identify as such, we feel and see and recognize and honor the divine in all beings, including the natural world, and feel that there is a divine or spiritual aspect to ecological matters, both in practice and connecting with the natural world, but also in spiritual matters. So what I would like for you to do is to think about all of the different ways that contemplative writing might unfold for you or people you know. For example, truly, when I write a love letter, that might be a spiritual moment. It might be a love letter to a tree, which I've done, I admit it. It might be a love letter to somebody whose life has touched me deeply. Maybe somebody I've never even met who's a guru or a mentor or a saint. It might be a love letter to God, however I define or conceive of God or spirit. And please, if I use words that don't work for you, insert your own words. This is an interfaith gathering, so we all just bring with us whatever we hold dear. And I might not use all of the same words or names that you do, but please know that I mean something very comprehensive, all-inclusive when I talk about spiritual matters or the divine. Poetry can bring us closer in to contemplation, reading it, writing it. And I don't mean like good poetry. I'm not a poet, and I sometimes write poetry, and it's as a writer, I do hide it a lot because my poetry is not something that I feel comfy putting out in the world. I know some fine poets, and I will read to you some of their work this week. But I just mean something that feels less like a sentence with a beginning and an ending and punctuation and a certain kind of grammar and flow, right? For me, poetry might be random words and phrases that capture something. Um, Mantras are also something I think of as contemplative writing. A mantra might be a phrase that's meaningful to me, that takes me to a deeper place, that gets me out of the circumstances of the day or the worries I might be having, or kind of the minutia that we need to face day by day. So allow these, and you all might have some broadened notions of what contemplative writing is, and we can share about those, share together in the second half today. But I want to give you some time to practice a little bit of contemplative writing. So here's what I would like for you to do. And I will give you, I'm looking at the clock and seeing how the hour is just ticking away very quickly. So I'll give you between 5 and 10 minutes to do this activity. And the first thing I would like for you to do is to take your paper, and anyone who's been with me before knows I'm going to say this, so just hold your breath and wait. Here it comes, the same thing I always say. I would ask you to turn your page landscape orientation. And if you brought with you some paper that has lines, all the better. I encourage you to turn it this way and write against the lines. How's that for really getting into a non-cognitive mode? Um, and I would ask for you to see if you can let the surprises come. Try not to direct this writing, but let the writing direct you. Let the words come. I don't expect you to edit this. No one's going to see this, right? I'm not going to ask anybody to read what you wrote. This is private for you. And I'll tell you what the prompt is and how we're going to do the writing in a second, but I just want you to feel really free to keep your pen moving if that works for you, and just let the surprises emerge on the page. Now I would like for you to get your nature object, and if you don't have a nature object or image near you that you can see or touch, please raise your hand or unmute yourself and let me know that. And I'll trust if you don't say anything that you have that. Everybody has something. And James, I can't see you, but I trust that you are there and that you have something you can use.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. Yes.
Hi, thank you. I'm actually listening to every word. I just barely made it in and I'm eating lunch.
Great. Great. Enjoy that lunch. And if you have do you have a nature object or something out the window that you can focus on that's of nature near you?
Okay, I have a big picture of a turtle here. I'm looking at.
Excellent. Excellent. Whatever you guys have. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do this. And here's how I would like you to start. And I will add a few things in as we go. But begin like this. Begin by really focusing on your object. Let everything else go. Worries, thoughts, mis preconceived notions you have about what this activity is or who you are or how you write. Focus on your object and begin to describe it as you write across the page. You might describe how it looks, feels, smells, if it's something you ever tasted. Begin by describing its physicality. this object or image is something you're very familiar with, see if you can find something, discover something new about this familiar object or item or image. A streak of color, some shadow or light. Consider, excuse me, consider how this object or image makes you feel. What about it opens your heart? What about it opens you to awe or beauty or the unseeable divine? You might consider also how this object or image is the same as you. How is it like you? How are you like it? What do you have in common with it, her, or him? Take one more minute, write down anything else, maybe even some notes if you want to continue this later. I know we're doing this kind of quickly. Okay, go ahead and put your pen down or pencil. Stretch your hand a little bit if you're not used to writing very much. um, this was a short one. I often get people right off the bat going for 20 minutes. So you're off the hook today a little bit. I'm going to stop the recording because I want to move into some community sharing, and I want all of us to feel free to turn on cameras or speak freely. Feel free to unmute yourself, and I will guide us through some community sharing. So I'm going to stop the recording now, and you may be able to see